everybody, this is Jeff from Suns and Shadows and 0 Point Reviews. I'm answering a challenge that is currently out there from the Rad Pack community. They have a fun little challenge going on right now with the 9 movies that you basically grew up with that helped make you. And I've seen a few videos and it looks like something I want to take part in and looks like a lot of fun. It actually made me think about a lot of movies that I watched as a kid. I was a big, I love film growing up. I always liked watching it off of television. As I go through some of these titles, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. Now, there's one that's going to be an honorable mention because I don't have a copy, but it's a Chevy Chase movie that not many people talk about, and that's going to be Modern Problems. It's where he gets exposed to radioactive material, and he kind of goes crazy through it. I remember watching this on TV from our local Milwaukee station when I was a kid in Wisconsin. And, it always had the 588-2300 Empire. I will always remember that commercial, local commercial. Anybody who lived in Milwaukee or the Milwaukee area, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But, that's one of those that was perpetually on Saturdays, recorded it on VHS tape. Unfortunately, the DVD is long out of print. The cheapest price I saw was $60 on Amazon. I'm not going to pay those prices. Hopefully one day it gets released, but it's a Fox title, which is owned by Disney. Maybe at some point, Milk Creek will put it out or whatnot. But with that said, let's go ahead and let's get right to it. The 9 I chose in no particular order. First one we're going to go with is Real Genius, starring Val Kilmer. This is a fantastic movie. This is part of what I call my science trilogy, where I would watch this with like Weird Science, My Science Project, and Real Genius. It's a hell of a triple feature. And I love Val Kilmer in this one. And it's got a great scene at the end with our favorite, Richard Peck from Ghostbusters. And he's in this and he plays a douchey professor. And this is just a whole lot of fun. As a kid, there was a couple of scenes that, for some reason, they always kind of like freaked me out a little bit. But if you know Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite, he's a very young one in this one. So I would recommend checking that one out. It's definitely a top favorite of mine in general. And as a kid on VHS tape, this isn't one of my favorite Star Wars movies, but it would be Return of the Jedi. I perpetually had this on VHS tape, pretty much watched it until the tape snapped. And I always had this on play at my dad's. We had a few movies that were recorded throughout the years, and this was one of them. It was on the same tape as Modern Problems, and we'll get to the other one that's on tape as well. But, of course, Return of the Jedi. Grew up a big sci-fi kid growing up. And of course, I don't have this opened yet because I also have a British release of it, but it's the Secret of My Success with Michael J. Fox. This is a super fun comedy. I don't know. This is just one of those. It's so funny to me. I get a kick out of the whole concept and how the movie plays out. Rags to riches. He goes to New York City, gets in with his uncle's business, works his way through the mailroom, assumes a role of a empty office and kind of takes over and shows what he can do with his brains and his intelligence. Hooks up with a beautiful young lady, and there's plenty of hijinks galore. This is one of my favorite comedies with Michael J. Fox, and this is definitely at the height of his career, in my opinion. Then followed up by Back to the Future. I basically grew up with this. It kind of is around my birthday, so I've always had a special attachment to it. And so this is like, not much needs to be said. It's Back to the Future and Back to the Future Part 2. Those were clear favorites of mine growing up. These days, I'm more Back to the Future Part 1 and 3. Part 2 is still fun to me, especially with like the virtual reality jaws coming out of the screen and all of the futuristic stuff. Super fun. And of course, I also grew up. I got to have an Arnold movie in here somewhere. I'm going to go with The Predator. Not much to say about this one other than this is one of those terrifically awesome action movies. Total male testosterone, but it's it's obviously one of my favorites. I don't really have any toys or anything, but I've had this on about every home video release out there, from VHS to the DVDs to this Blu-ray. I won't upgrade to the 4K until they have a better transfer, which is probably not likely to happen, but big fan of this movie, always in the collection. It's one of the few early super action gory movies that I was able to get into. And my dad loved the movie too. And of course, can't go wrong with the Rowdy Piper and They Live. Perpetually, I've had this on every home video release. And this is such a fun sci-fi movie for me. And it also has one of the best fight scenes in it, a terrific score by John Carpenter. It's just an insanely fun movie. And it's got a quick runtime, so it just flows so well. It's paced excellently. I just totally get a kick out of like the aliens already being here and the sunglasses and everything. Just total fun time for me. And I'm going to throw out Beverly Hills Cop Part 2. This is a little pack I have of the 3 movies that's from the UK. They're region free. And so I perpetually watched Beverly Hills Cop Part 2 in the edited version from TV. It's the only way you could record it. A lot of things were cut out. A lot of swearing was bleeped out. One of the best scenes is when Eddie Murphy and the guys show up at the Playboy Manor. And instead of everybody follow your dicks, it's everybody. It's just him just going blah, 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 blah. And it's super funny. I wish I could find that tape. I think it was on the same tape as the rest. And it would also like reference, because it was off of a TV broadcast, it would also reference like the Beauty and the Beast television show has been pulled due to copyright concerns. And that was an interesting ticker. And I had it on that VHS tape. I don't know if that's still at my dad's house, if it hasn't been recorded over by a bunch of other different things throughout the years. But a lot of my recorded VHS tapes are back at my dad's house. But maybe one day I'll be able to check that out. And if I can find that, I'll rip it and I'll throw it up online here. And of course, I grew up, and this had a great impression on me because I would perpetually play this on repeat, much to my mother's chagrin. But RoboCop, Peter Weller. I mean, what can you say? This is a classic movie. I have a poster up top here. I got some toys around the room. It's just, and I have pretty much almost every version of this except like Laserdisc. I'm very picky on the Laserdiscs, but you know, when I was growing up, a lot of my movies were more sci-fi, comedy, action. I didn't really get into horror until a little bit later. But last but certainly not least, welcome Starfighters to The Last Starfighter. This is a movie that I got from my aunt on a VHS tape. Again, that was perpetually on repeat. There was this, there was Night of the Comet, and then there was another movie on there she recorded off of HBO. And this movie had such an impression on me. I was very much into like Atari back then and growing up with like all the usuals. And just in the 80s, this was just one of those movies that, hey, I loved like Star Wars. This felt a little more down to earth on Earth. Yeah, the CGI doesn't like really date itself well today, but this is such a fun movie with Catherine Mary Stewart and Lance Guest, and it's such a fun movie. Dan O'Hurley, he's in this, and I love like the releases this has gotten from Arrow. This is not the 4K. I have that over on the shelf over there that I still need to see, but like this is such a beautiful release. And I got like the book and VHS tape up on a higher shelf over here on my desk. And, you know, I just absolutely adore this movie. It's so much fun. And I pretty much watch it like once a year. All right. That's what I got from my Rad 9 movies that made me growing up. Hey, if you like this video, please hit the like button. Got any movies on this list that are on your list too? Comment below. I'd love to hear it. Also, be sure to check out the Rad Pack on YouTube. They got a great podcast going on with Mel, Garrett, and Justin. They also have their own individual videos in their community tab. Absolutely check those out. Everybody's got a great list. There's also Tim Talks Talkies. And there's a lot of different videos out there. Everybody has a very fun list. I highly recommend checking it out on YouTube. And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.